Show. We're going to go ahead and get Jason Chung on the line right now, and go ahead and give these guys a call. Jason Chung is the, I'm going to have to look this up to make sure that I've got his job title right, but I think he's Asian Communications Director. Jason, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi, Jason.
How are you?
I'm doing well. Your face looks like a logo, though. So they just need to click on the camera icon to get your picture up here on the screen. Oh, there we go. Hey, there you are, Jason. Jason Chung, welcome to the show. I think I got the right Twitter handle, right?
Chung Tweets, yes.
Chung Tweets. Okay, I got it right. I wasn't sure. You never know on Twitter. You type in a name like Jason Chung, there's like 85 of them. And so I went through the one that looked like it was a Republican, and so there we are.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
There we go.
So 84 and, follow them on Twitter too, I guess.
There's probably like about a dozen Ed Morriseys on the line too, and I don't even want to look at those guys. That would be scary. I don't need to see that. But we're going to talk about a really interesting story in Southern California about hot sauce.
Sure.
And I don't even know how to pronounce this sauce. How do you pronounce this thing?
It's called sriracha.
Sriracha. Okay, sriracha. And this is a nice spicy sauce. I believe it's at least this particular brand was created in Southern California. It's swept the nation, very popular. It's, kind of like the new Tabasco in some ways. And it has a very healthy aroma to it. To everybody except the people who live near it in Irwindale, California.
Yeah, what's really interesting about this whole story is the city of Irwindale incentivized the Huifeng Food Company, which makes sriracha, to come to Irwindale. They offered a nice loan incentive program, which the company owner, David Tran, said he couldn't refuse. So now, a couple of years later, they've complete 180, 5 households out of generated like 60% of the complaints against them in a city of 1,400. So, something doesn't seem quite right here, but it's an interesting story nonetheless.
Now, I actually am from Southern California, so I know Irwindale a little bit. It's not exactly what you call a densely populated area. It's mostly industrial, isn't it? I mean, I know there are people that live there, but it's mostly an industrial area, right?
Sure. Yeah. From the map I saw, it is of what the city plans came up with that I had my staffers pull together for me that helped me out a great deal. Is that it is a 1% residential deemed by the census and 99% deemed industrial or light industrial by the U.S. Census.
Yeah, I mean, this is...
So, not a lot of people there.
Not a lot of people. And by the way, for those of you who are really old school, and Jason, this is way before your time, when the Oakland Raiders were playing footsie with Los Angeles, supposedly one of the stadium sites was going to be Irwindale. In fact, that's where Al Davis was planning on... that was the last city I think that he was dealing with before he finally just decided to pack up and go back to Oakland. So I mean, this is not a densely populated enclave in Los Angeles, relatively speaking, of course, because Los Angeles is really a densely populated metropolitan area anyway. But yeah, it's mostly industrial. And so if you're going to have a factory for hot sauce that's going to give off an aroma, I mean, that's the kind of place you do it in. You do it in Irwindale. You might do it in a place like, I don't know, Carson or City of Industry, areas where you have a low density of residential dwellings and a high density of factories, maybe even Santa Fe Springs or something like that, where they have I don't know if they still have them, but when I was growing up near there, they had the oil refineries there. So nobody's really going to be bothered by hot sauce smell in Santa Fe Springs, right?
No, I mean, and this just shows you what, I guess kind of like government run amok. A lot of the, I think the genesis of a lot of the complaints was from the son of a local town councilman. So, it just seems to be like a little odd in terms of, why they want them out. And this is the guy who started this company, David Tran, came over to the United States in 1980, living the American dream, built his company to what it is today, 200 employees, $60 million worth of profit. And, there's no shortage of folks out there, from Senator Cruz all the way down to, local state reps in Texas who want him to come. I read an article that Philadelphia, Tucson, they're all in line if they want him to come, and move his business. And this is
Sure.
just shows you what, I guess, the reality of the business climate in California is like.
And not just the business climate, because you can have a business climate that's not necessarily very friendly, but still is at least rational. I mean, this is really irrational. This is a city that invested in bringing this guy's factory into their town, and now seems invested in losing the investment. It's just an irrational. It's an irrational reaction to this. Supposedly, there have been some nosebleeds and that sort of thing. We've got a couple of people in the chat room who say they've been around there and they've never smelled the hot sauce. So I don't even know how realistic this thing is. But honestly, there's no middle ground here. Isn't there something that people can do to mitigate both the smell and the regulation so that this guy can operate?
Well, the funny thing about that is it appears to be that the local environmental quality agency in the region down there seems to want to work with him in order to improve the air quality. They've asked him to install new air filters. He's done so, and they're willing to work with him in order to do that. But before he could, to successes, the town council voted to call his company a public nuisance, which means he has 90 days to either clean it all up or get out of town. So I think he's weighing all his options right now. And the local GOP, the Los Angeles County GOP, they're coming down. It's like, we side with this businessman. He built it. He should get to run it. And this is just a sign of big government, or any government, small town government, if you will, getting in the way of doing something right for him and his employees, and the local farm where he buys the peppers from, actually, as well.
So it's a local farm where he's buying the peppers. He's not having these things imported from outside the United States or even outside the state of California.
No, apparently, there's a very nice symbiotic relationship between his hot sauce factory and the peppers where he buys them from, which is a local company as well. So as his company, grew, so did the farm, which supplies the peppers.
How many people work at this factory?
From a couple articles that I read, it says about 200 people.
200 people. 200 people in Irwindale, right?
Yeah.
Irwindale. I'm telling you, folks, I've been to Irwindale. If you can get 200 people in a factory working, that's a good thing in Irwindale. And they're going.
I wonder what this means for government for his expansion of his company too.
Yeah.
It looks like he won't be able to hire additional people either. Which in this day and age, good decent work.
No, and it used to be that you had all sorts of different factories like that around Southern California. In Fullerton, they used to have the Hunt Wesson plant. I think the Hunt Wesson plant is still there, where they do a lot of that canning and preserves and stewing and whatever else they do. These are good manufacturing jobs. This is a good manufacturing job, good manufacturing facility. It's precisely the kind of industry that California especially needs to hang on to. What is the state? You're saying that the Environmental Quality Board, which is, I believe, state-based, is willing to work with them. What is the state legislature, which is dominated, by the way, by Democrats? What are they doing for Sriracha?
What's interesting about this is you have other areas of California, like those in the San Fernando Valley, who are saying, come here. Don't move your company out of California. Stay in California. Don't go to Texas. We would appreciate you coming, up the road, if you will, to our town. There's no need to move these 200 jobs outside of this location. And then you got like Texas saying, come to Texas. Our business climate is a lot friendlier than what you would have in California. Even Philadelphia has chimed in and said, come to Pennsylvania, which, I thought was kind of interesting as well.
Yeah, I'm looking at this story from, I think it was yesterday on The Wire. the Republicans are standing by this. What are we hearing from the state Democratic Party? Are they standing up for sriracha, or are they Tabasco kind of folk?
I think the state Democratic Party has some issues that they got to work on, especially with three legislators who have been indicted. So I think they got I think they got other problems besides losing a company to a different state now.
Right.
So.
And of course, Neil Kashkari, who's going to be running for governor, is kind of taking this on as a cause as well. So I mean, this is becoming a statewide issue. This particular plan. Now, we've been talking about this in terms of Irwindale's town council. I mean, talk about a lack of self-awareness there, but this is there's a larger lesson to be learned about the interference of regulators, and especially arbitrary interference like we're seeing right here, based on nothing but personal connections and whatever else you want to call it. This is sort of the epitome of the arbitrariness of a government that doesn't have a lot of accountability to its citizens. I mean, I can't imagine that the people of Irwindale want to see this thing pack up and move.
No, I mean, you employ a lot of people in this factory. You have a town council of 5 people who voted to call this company a public nuisance. Where are those town councilmen who voted or who wanted this company to come from Rosemead to Irwindale? Are they still on the council? I mean, I just find this, very also fascinating that 3-4 years ago you wanted this company because of the jobs it could provide. Especially in this location where it's light industrial, there's not a lot of population density, as you said, and now you just want to get rid of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just insane. All right, so we're up to speed on the hot sauce issue. What else are you working on for the RNC? Now, did I get your? I think I got your title correct. Asian Communications Director, I think. So, obviously, you're doing outreach to the Asian American community. Tell us a little more about what the RNC is doing in that outreach.
Well, now is we're currently engaging voters in states, and encouraging to come support the party. Where we're showing currently voters what the Republican principles are and how it fits into their lives. And we're just doing what we can to inform the voters that that they should be aligned with us versus the Democrats. We are the party of small business. We are the party of individual liberty, and how that applies to them in their everyday lives.
It's interesting because I was just reading something about the demographics of voter registrations, and I was a little surprised to see that in terms of party affiliation, Democrats have a bit of an edge over Republicans among Asian Americans, because I had kind of thought a few years ago it was slightly the other direction. Am I misremembering that? And
well, yeah, I mean, what you have here is you have 51% of the Asian American population that considers themselves unaffiliated voters. So of the other 50% or 49%, yeah, they may identify with a specific party, but there's a large swath of the population that don't consider themselves affiliated with any party or with any one person. So those are groups that we're trying to introduce ourselves to, that we are introducing ourselves to, and making sure that that their concerns are heard by us, and we incorporate what they feel the need for this country to succeed even further into our party platform and our party principles.
And I think another thing that people don't get about that is that this is not a monolithic bloc either. I mean, we're talking about party affiliation, but within the framework of Asian American, there's a number of very different ethnicities that we're talking about. And so it's more of a challenge than maybe saying, Latinos or African Americans. There's a whole lot of different communities that you have to really know in order to do that kind of outreach. So tell us a little bit about that challenge.
Sure. I mean, you nailed it right on the head. You use actually one of my favorite quotes. We're not a monolithic voting bloc. And I appreciate you saying that, because it shows that you truly understand the challenges that we're trying to undertake. you have Japanese Americans, Chinese Americans, Vietnamese Americans, Korean Americans, um, Thai Americans. You have all these, and don't forget the South Asians with Indian Americans,
Right.
Pakistanis. So you have a lot of different groups that we're trying to engage and incorporate, their thoughts and listen to them and their needs and how they feel that this country needs and on how this country needs to move forward. Um, one of the things that we're doing is, we're 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 treating each ethnicity separately. We're treating Indian Americans like Indian Americans. We're not treating them like you would a Korean American. And so therein lies a challenge. And currently, because we've undertaken this effort, it's it's taken some time, but it's really bearing some fruit right now because a lot of these different communities they know we're there, they know we're competing for their votes, and we're competing for their hearts and minds as well.
Yeah, I mean it's tough too because there's certainly a lot of Republicans. I imagine probably a significant number of Democrats too, even though it's not necessarily the overall arc that you get from them, that tend to not like the idea of ethnic based outreach because they are committed to the idea that Americans are Americans and that's it. So that's not quite it when it comes to outreach, though. I mean, it's certainly that's true. We're all Americans, and we're all we should all be equal in our Americanness, if you want to put it that way. But when you want to talk to different communities, I mean, you have to actually reach out to those communities, right? And you have to know how to do it.
I mean, engaging and reaching out, outreach, it's about listening. It's about
Yeah.
incorporating their thoughts into our whole process. It's about creating, Reagan's Big Tent, and that's what we're here to do. We're creating the Big Tent. We're inviting everybody in, and we want to listen to them. We want to hear their concerns, as I said before, and we want to make sure their voices are being heard by everyone from Chairman Priebus all the way down to, you know, the person who answers the phone. We
Yeah.
want them to make sure that they feel as though they are part of this Republican Party, that they are the Republican Party, and we're succeeding in that.
Jason Chung is the Republican Party. At least for us today, he's the Republican Party. He is the Asian Communications Director for the RNC. Thanks so much for joining us today, and hopefully we get a chance to get you back on, talk a little bit more. If nothing else, talk about hot sauce and how awesome it is.
All right. Thanks, Ed. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. All right, folks.